Last week, writer Paddy Gormley was telling us how he rose to the challenge of rewriting some of the verse in 2020 visions.
I could fully understand the need for rewriting. For example, to get rid of ancient references to unnecessary props that would only hold up the action.
Well, surely it wasn't as simple as that.
Indeed not. I developed my own methods of verse writing in the 1990s. For example, giving each character a personal system of rhythms and rhymes, each distinct from the other characters.
Now, this sounds complicated.
And I also found ways of mixing these personal systems to denote the degree of interaction between characters. So, for example, when characters met as strangers, they would stick to their own patterns and leave the others to theirs. By contrast, when characters were on more intimate terms, their patterns would begin to blend into one another.
I see. It is complicated.
Maybe, but I think you will find it interesting.
Okay, try me.
When you asked me to rewrite some of the verse, I wanted to make sure the new text was based on the same patterns as the old, but I wrote the play in just a couple of months. I had it all in my head, so there was no need to document the systems I was using. And I didn't document them.
So you had to go back to the original drafts?
Yes. And I was surprised and delighted to find that the characters were actually formed out of the verse patterns I used. When I started writing, I didn't know who the characters were, but as soon as I found the right system for each character, the character found his or her voice.
I think an example would help.
What do you think of when I say pentameter?
Oh, Shakespeare always.
Precisely. Penta is 5, pentameter, pentameter is 5-footed meter.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But soft what light through yonder window breaks.
That's it.
Yep.
Pentameter, composed of lines of 5 feet, has a special rhythmic feel derived from its uneven beat. Our rhythmic instincts favour simple repetition. Since simplicity means 2 or 3, or multiples thereof, 5 counts as difficult. Music in 5 time is a rarity. 5 time is far from rare in poetry, though, which seems strange at first. Whereas the beat of music is exact, in verse we can cheat the rhythm by allowing a short pause to end each line, a comma between clauses, as it were, to close one thought and then begin another. This works well with sentence structure. Attractive phrases often span 5 feet. The pause suggests a 6th, so the scansion, based on 2 times 3, has an appealing and intrinsically rhythmic feel.
I decided that young Alec, the 20-year-old undergraduate, in the year 1960, would speak exclusively in pentameter. He was a child of the old order, minor public school, red brick university, destined to take his place in the established class hierarchy.
So you use pentameter as the mark of the establishment.
Very good. And this is important in the context of 2020 visions because, as we know, well, you and I know anyway, in 1960 the old order was about to crumble. The Lady Chatterley trial was in 1960, with the famous question of whether D.H. Lawrence's allegedly obscene book was one you would even wish your wife or servants to read.
Your servants? Well, no, I don't want the servants reading it.
The swinging 60s came much later, years later. But this was a watershed moment in British social history, even so.
Is something bothering you?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't help looking at your book.
Rollicking good read, I say.
You'd let the servants read it then?
My servants.
The court case, it's the 40th anniversary. There's a report of it in here.
I've always seen Belinda as a feminist ahead of her time. She was fearless about taking a young man half her age with a clear intention of wanting to have his child. She would have been a social pariah in 1960.
Yes, but because Belinda was a secretary at Alex University, she had to pay lip service to that old order.
By using pentameter.
By giving the appearance of using pentameter, while actually rebelling against it.
Now, How was this possible?
By splitting every 5-footed line
Of course.
into a 3-footed line and a 2-footed line so that it can be interpreted as pentameter or not, according to your world view.
Well, there's always an answer, isn't
In
there?
her work, a deferential secretary, but speaking in a code that could readily be understood by anyone in the know.
You talked about how you found the characters' voices through their verse scheme. What did you mean by that?
If you listen to the first scene in the 1960 story,
The seduction scene.
you'll notice that Alec 20's speech is hesitant and deliberate.
Whereas Belinda is confident and chatty.
Yes, Belinda's lines have twice as many rhymes as Alec's because her lines are so much shorter. And the shorter the lines, the faster the pace of her speech.
Which is why she comes across so much in command of the situation.
That's what I meant about discovering the characters through their verse schemes.
Nice flat.
Nice windows, anyway.
You and your husband must be...
He died.
Oh, I wish I hadn't said that.
No, it's all right. I was a wartime bride, and he died fighting. He was only 20. Like lambs to the slaughter. There were plenty like him. We've a daughter, but he never met her. I'm depressing you. Whatever did I say?
My manuscript of that first moment of writing, which is dated Armistice Day in the year 2000, shows that I couldn't get going until I found the respective patterns for Alec 20 and Belinda. But as soon as they had their patterns, they became real to me. They spoke freely, using the voices given them by the verse schemes, and the words flowed effortlessly from then on.
Oh, come on, I suspect there's a lot more where that came from.
It certainly is. I've written a book about it. It's called The Language of 2020 Visions.
If you've been following this series, you will know that there are just 350 seats for sale in the entire preview run of 2020 Visions next February. And we're giving priority booking to supporters of our crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter.com until the end of November. You may be interested to know that supporters will also have preferential access to further blog postings that delve deeper into the secret world of 2020 Visions. There will be one blog about the music of the play and another about Paddy's book, The Language of 2020 Visions, which will also be available to supporters. So please check out our Kickstarter project page where you can support this project and be able to say that you're one of the people who helped get 2020 Visions up on stage for the very first time. There's an easy link via our website, 2020.productions/KS. Paddy and I will be back next week when we'll be talking about the music of the play.